light in the sky, rising in the air. There's a feeling so strong. It's time to light the fire, like a bright shining light. Learn, getting more out of life. Love, sharing time with friends, feeling so strong.
That was good.
Hello, welcome to the House of Wellness. I'm Luke Darcy. Excited, as always, to be here with Joe Stanley and Luke Hines. Welcome, guys.
Great to see you both.
Joining us on the couch today, tea guru, wellness warrior and health podcaster, Sarah Davis. And welcome to you, Sarah.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Great to have you part of the House of Wellness. In 2015, you made the switch from being a corporate lawyer to a full-time health entrepreneur. Tell us about that. How did it come about?
Gosh, it was a bit of a happy accident, actually, as the best stories are. I started out on a very different career path as a mergers and acquisitions lawyer, burnt out into adrenal fatigue, which is really no surprise in hindsight, and was banned from coffee. And, you know, that's kind of a death sentence when you're when you're in mergers and acquisitions. And as in my search for a healthier form of caffeination, discovered the marvels of matcha green tea. And it was an accidental business idea that was born out of our own selfish needs to fill the gap.
Well, look, I'm going to jump in here too, because you've been quite modest. You've got an incredible podcast with guest lists going through the roof. It's called Seize the Yay, which I absolutely love. It's something we should all be doing right now, is seizing the yay. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Absolutely, Hinesy. So basically it came out of that, the whole transition from corporate to being what I call a funtrepreneur.
Yes.
And the idea that seizing the day is very much associated with financial metrics and being objectively successful and always, you know, needing to be glorifying busy, and I call it, you know, the productivity hamster wheel. But what I've been able to do is break that autopilot circuit and start looking at what actually makes you excited and going back to that childlike sense of wonder, which is why the word yay makes me so excited, because you feel like a kid and just go after the things that really light you up. And I think if we all did that a little bit more and kind of got off this like hamster wheel, everyone would be so much happier.
I think it's really hard for people sometimes to give themselves permission to do that, to remember the things that made them yay.
Absolutely, and that's where I found myself in this position where people would ask me what I'd do instead of law and asked what I'd like or what my passions were, and I'd have no answer.
So tell me more about the matcha business. I love this. I love anything healthy. How did that come about? Matcha maiden.
Yeah, well, I love it so much.
Nice, I like it.
Thanks. I worked a really long time on that one. Been sitting on it.
So why green tea?
Well, basically it was because I still wanted to be able to get a form of caffeine that gives you a bit of energy and a boost, because I was working really long hours, and discovered that, you know, coffee does give you, especially in an adreno-compromised position, it gives you a big spike, but then it gives you a crash, and it doesn't last very long. Whereas matcha, because it's been being used for centuries in, you know, the East, in Zen Buddhist monks and their meditations that were hours and hours long, they needed focus and energy. Matcha has a unique amino acid in it called L-theanine, which makes it slow release into your bloodstream.
We need a bit of that right now. Das, do you want a cup?
I'd love some matcha with the matcha maiden. We'll stay with us, Sarah, see if we can get that sorted out. We're going to be bringing up some facts as well on the flu, the one we all know about, that is, but of course we can't ignore the coronavirus pandemic, which is still evolving by the minute, Joe.
Oh, it's true, Das, and as governments and health authorities come to grips with the most effective ways to contain the virus, and the best scientists in the world, a lot of which are Australian, work towards a vaccine, we, the public, have to be guided by their recommendations.
Look, I mean, it's really new territory for us, Joe. I think people, human nature, when someone starts to panic, people around them panic, and it really, really becomes quite engulfing in our world. So we just need to minimise that stress that's around us.
Yeah, I think the idea of being calm and absorbing the facts, taking the right precautions, and then I suppose we've got a plan, sticking to the plan, and that's what we're looking for, Joe.
Yes, and Das, you can never have enough basic hygiene. I mean, wash your hands. I can't believe we've had to learn how to wash our hands. But anyway.
You haven't got a teenage son. You need to teach them to wash their hands for a start.
I don't. And teenagers should definitely wash their hands. Good hygiene fights off sickness in general, including getting the flu. The one that we all know, that is. Plus, there's an extra layer of defence to the flu vaccination. And while the flu vaccine won't combat COVID-19, it does help reduce the severity and spread of seasonal influenza, so it's more important than ever to get your vax.
It's incredibly important that everybody thinks about a flu shot, particularly in this environment now where we know we're facing a pandemic with coronavirus. We need people to actively seek out vaccination, and they need to be doing so from about April. What's exciting and important is that young children aged between 6 months and 5 years will actually be funded on the National Immunisation Program to access the flu vax, and we'd encourage parents to bring children in, young children in. It's important because we don't want people falling ill and catching influenza, because that really weakens them and puts them at risk of coronavirus and vice versa. There is a difference between the two viruses, that if you have the flu shot, you are not protected from catching coronavirus. At the moment, we don't have a vaccine for coronavirus. We do have a very effective vaccine for the flu, and we need Australians to take up that option and get themselves vaccinated. Our understanding is the Australian government has ordered an unprecedented amount of flu vaccine, particularly because we're anticipating that there'll be a huge interest from the public and people will be coming in. So our understanding is that that demand has been thought about, and we're getting a large volume of flu vaccine in. So at the moment, it is just absolutely critical that Australians take the opportunity to get vaccinated against influenza. For the first time ever, we are facing a pandemic here from this new virus, coronavirus. It's very different from influenza. Australians at the moment can't do more than what we've been told around protecting yourself, but for the flu, we have the vaccine. And what we need Australians to do is take up that opportunity, get vaccinated now. This will actually keep your immune system strong, perhaps even put you at less risk of getting coronavirus. So I would really commend it to everyone to think about.
Wise words from Dr. Lara there, and the thing to remember, it's not just about protecting yourself. The more people who are vaccinated, the less likely the flu will spread. So think about the people who are too sick to be vaccinated themselves, along with babies and the senior cits. And the national rollout of flu vaccinations begins in April and will be available through your local GP, along with your local pharmacy, clinic, schools and some workplaces.
After the break, Joe, our resident father-daughter experts, give us the facts on cold and flu. That's coming up next on the House of Wellness.
Well, I tell you what.
What?
Oh, I forgot. Just
we have to.
This is the House of Wellness. There's been a lot of crazy things we've seen during these times, but Joe, you found your own way of helping to calm things down a bit.
Oh, look, I was just reaching out to my neighbours, as anybody would. So I did a little letter drop and I started a WhatsApp group, and now we have about 50 people all in this one big block in our neighbourhood. And every day we connect, we're sharing meditations and songs and videos, and it's just a really beautiful way for all of us to feel like we're not alone.
Well, you were telling me about that, and I've taken that up and have looked out for some of our neighbours who are a little bit elderly as well. So, you live next door to people these days, Sarah, but we're less and less connected. So I know you're not taking a lot of credit, but the idea of using technology to connect in this time has been a ripper from you, Joe.
I hope you're telling them to watch the House of Wellness on Sundays.
Of course.
Yeah, good.
Of course I am.
We're also heading into the flu season, which causes around 3,500 deaths in Australia each year, along with thousands of hospitalisations and countless visits to the GP, Joe.
Well, Darcy, let me tell you, I'm very familiar with the man flu, which is...
Oh, you're going to go there, are you?
Look, it's just a cold, I'm telling you that.
Oh, poor Dad.
And there is no point in clogging up the health system by going to the doctor when you don't even need to. But people do confuse... Men and women, I will say, confuse the common cold with the flu a lot. So here to clear it up is our father and daughter combo, the doctor's cars.
Hi and welcome to Medicine Past, Present and Future. My name's Dr. Nick and I'm the past.
And my name's Dr. Isabel and I'm the future.
And together we're the present. Oh, sorry.
Are you okay, Dr. Nick? You don't look so good.
I think I might have a touch of the flu, sorry.
A touch of the flu? What do you mean? Surely you're talking about a cough or a cold?
Well, yeah, fair point, because the flu is actually a severe illness. In fact, when I was a junior doctor, I was taught how to diagnose the difference between colds and flu. Number one, you're doing a house call because the patient's at home in bed, and you go to that person's house and you put a £50 note in the next door bedroom. Remember, this is the days when £50 would buy you a new car. And you say to the patient, you can have that £50. If they get out of bed, they haven't got the flu.
I think there are only two things wrong with that story, Dr. Nick.
Oh, yes.
First of all, I don't know that many doctors that make house calls these days.
Oh,
and secondly, what kind of car were you buying with £50?
Sorry.
Dr. Nick, did you sneeze into your hands?
Yes?
Surely someone's taught you cough and cold etiquette by now.
Oh, OK, what should I be doing?
We're not supposed to sneeze into our hands, and that's purely because we use our hands to touch a lot of things. We touch door handles, maybe we're on public transport, holding onto a strap on the tram. Instead, what we're supposed to do is sneeze into an area that we don't use that much, such as the crook of your arm. Actually, just like this.
Not looking so good ourselves, are we, Dr. Isabel? Tell you what, I've got some antibiotics here. Would you like some?
Well, now I know you're pulling my leg, Dr. Nick. You know very well that we don't use antibiotics for viruses. But if you're asking me that question, maybe I can ask you one in return. What can we do if we have a virus, or what can we do to prevent the virus in the first place?
Really important, and there are three main things that we can do. One is what you talked about earlier, this cough and cold etiquette. Second thing is hand hygiene, so we need to use plenty of soap and water or hand gel. And then we talk about self-exclusion. Don't go to work if you've got that drippy nose, that horrible cough. You'll infect everyone at school or at work, so stay at home.
Now, Dr. Nick, I think we better get you home. You're not looking so good.
Oh,
Go.
oh. Quite right too. Thank you, Dr. Isabel.
Thank you very much.
Well, more common sense from the doctors there. Now, Sarah, your podcast, Seize the Yay, is massive, and you're already using technology to help create healthy communities. So what apps and websites are out there?
There's actually an amazing website called Flu Tracker, which is using crowdsourced data to collect information, and it's been tracking influenza for the past few years. It's amazingly easy to use. It takes 10 seconds every week to just log your symptoms and information, and then makes that available on a live map.
I love this. I've been quite obsessed with it for a while.
Joe.
Well, because I feel like you can know where are the safe places to go in your city, but it's not really meant to be used in that way, is it?
Well, it does keep a live map of the locations where things are, heavily concentrated. But I think what is also really useful about it is traditionally the information that was collected on influenza was only from people who would go to the doctor and then log their symptoms. Whereas this crowdsourcing data method allows people who are at home, who haven't necessarily made it to the doctor, to still report their symptoms and then us to get access to that information.
Well, Sarah, that's fantastic. Flu Tracker's perfect for tracking a virus locally. But what about on a global scale? What do we do there?
Yeah, well, luckily the World Health Organization also has this live data map, which is again collected. This one isn't crowdsourced. It's from clinical data of people with, real cases of flu.
So they get their test and that's submitted.
And that's submitted, yeah. And then there's a live map of the whole world. So if you have relatives who are travelling, or if you need to travel, you can track again where those areas are that are high risk.
That's cool.
So what's the idea? Is it, I'm tracking Joe, stay away from Joe, she's got the flu, or how does it help people? What's the benefit? I'm not quite understanding.
I think the big benefit is that also it does show you the areas that are at risk, but it also shows us being able to actually track the way that a disease or a condition like influenza spreads. And that's what helps people actually to know, what the patterns are, what to look out for and how to contain it.
Yeah, I think it helps all of our health professionals too to sort of plan for things that might be coming their way. For my husband, he quite likes going, see, I told you I was sick.
Oh,
See?
yeah, everyone was unwell.
It would be quite handy right now, wouldn't it, to be able to track the spread of the coronavirus that has inundated the world. We're inundated with wash your hands and don't touch your face type of messages, but I was wondering how long it would take for someone to mastermind and develop an app around those things. And you found another one, Sarah, I believe.
I have been trawling the internet of late and discovered don'ttouchyourface.com, which is another wonderful website that has been developed in response to us needing to get all these cues. I mean, Joe, you were saying before, wash your hands, it's so obvious. Don't touch your face, so obvious. But if you're anything like me and you touch your face multiple times an hour without even realising, there's a new website that you can log into, and it uses the webcam on your computer to figure out when you're touching your face, when you're not touching your face, and then you leave the window open and it will give you an alert every time you go into touching your face.
Oh, I like that. That's so clever.
Scares me a little bit, though.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I mean, also useful.
You have to be in front of your screen, obviously, for that to work. I've just found putting my hands in my pockets the whole time helps.
I mean, that's good. Yeah. It's like a weirdo walking around. That's fine.
I always thought one of the most amazing images of the last 5 years was Mark Zuckerberg having a bit of blue tack over the camera of his computer. You know, everyone's watching you, whether you touch your face or not, Jack. Well, fair enough. Sounds like a simple and effective approach. After the break, Hines, he plates up some delicious R&R right here on the House of Wellness.
It is delicious R&R. I mean, yeah, get bare neat. Definitely.
Welcome back. Today we're joined by leading health podcaster Sarah Davison, who also runs an organic cafe which specialises in vegetarian food. Hey Sarah, why are you focused on plant-based for you?
Well, it's been a bit of a journey, Das, but it really came about through the research on the blue zones, which are the 5 areas of the world where people live not only longer, but better, well into their 90s and even their 100, as centenarians. And we discovered that in the research, looking at the things that all those communities have in common, one of them is a majority plant-based diet. So it just helps you live longer. It also is based on sustainability of the planet, so we won't run out of food. I think there are so many benefits to eating more plants.
I've just jumped on board plant-based.
Welcome.
I wouldn't say I'm being very successful at this, but I'm giving it a crack, and I'm really inspired by you and your conscientious food consumption, which is why I'm making the same choice. But you've got a lovely flair about the food that you create as well, Sarah. Tell us about your blue lattes and green burgers.
Well, one of the big challenges, I think, to getting mainstream people to try vegan food or to try plant-based food is that barrier of it being a little bit intimidating, and also there's a lot of misconceptions about it tasting like cardboard or, not being Instagrammable. So the more that we could make our venue really beautiful and engaging and using lots of colours and really drawing on that idea of eating the rainbow, the more we thought it would break down those barriers and get people to come in and try it.
I am so on board with this. It's incredible that there's a plant-based revolution sweeping cafes and homes all around Australia. And speaking of which, I have teamed up with my main man, champion of chill, Gerald Quigley, to cook up a stress-busting dish straight from nature. Gerald, I'm always talking about the health benefits of avocados. In particular, I love that they're packed with healthy fats. Omega-3s are perfect for healthy brain function. How do you like to take your avo?
Very simply, Heinzie. I like my avos with some lemon juice and some extra virgin olive oil. But as you say, it's a power-packed vegetable, and the main thing it's got is magnesium. So magnesium is versatile, good for physical and mental health.
Mate, this sounds right up my alley. Can you tell me a little bit more, though?
Well, as we know, magnesium is very important for helping offset fatigue. So we know it's versatile, it's good for muscles, but from a mental health perspective, it's so important and so underrated.
So when we're talking about mental health, we're talking about obviously lifestyle stresses and managing stress. We've got it from finances, work, kids, and that definitely takes its toll.
And it won't go away, Heinzie. We live with stress each day. Every single person has a different stress response. The wonders of magnesium is that it not only can help calm us in a stressful situation, it actually helps our performance when we're working within that stressful situation, either in a food form or supplement form.
Well, I've got to say, mate, it sounds like a bit of a miracle mineral that it can do all of that naturally.
It's one of my favourites, Heinzie. Magnesium is terrific for helping physical, mental energy, but it also is good for digestion. It helps us energy produce from carbohydrates and proteins and fats.
So it sounds like a bit of a booster, just like this avocado, Gerald.
Sure is, Heinzie, and I noticed you're using nuts, which are also a great source of magnesium. So at the end of this recipe, your stress levels should be super low.
They always are working with you, GQ.
Thank you, Heinzie.
The A to Z of Vitamins is brought to you by Ethical Nutrients Mega Magnesium Energy and Stress. Multi-action stress and energy complex.
Now, Heinz, I know avocados are a big favourite of yours, hard to go past, but you've got a real issue with them if they're cooked or warm. What's your problem?
I love an avocado straight up, in its whole form. If I can get the whole thing in my mouth, I'd give it a go. But when it's warm or deep fried, I tell you what, not my cup of tea. It's a weird consistency. I reckon it smells a little bit too. So just keep it real, people.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
I'll remember that. Sarah, you obviously love your fruits and veggies, beautiful and colourful. What is the #1 food hit for you?
I mean, I'm with Heinz. It would have to be an avocado, definitely raw,
Yeah.
not cooked.
Get it in ya.
But if I had to choose something else, I love berries. I feel like in the antioxidant arena, they're really the superstars.
Absolutely delicious. From eating simple whole foods to looking great naturally, radio host PJ Harding and celebrity makeup artist Jade Kisnorbo are out there once again, this time getting back to basics.
Hi, I'm Jade Kisnorbo and I'm all about the latest beauty, hair and makeup trends.
And I'm Polly Harding, and working in radio, I've still got a lot to learn about the beauty biz.
Together, we're going to bust those beauty myths.
Strip things back to basics and learn a few new tricks in the process. Today, I need to learn from you because we're talking makeup brushes and, and the importance of them. And when it comes to actually brushes at home, I've probably got like 1 or 2 on rotation.
1 or 2. Okay, so we're going to have to do a bit of work today.
One for my eyes and one for the rest.
Well, we'll get you a few more. The tools you use to apply your makeup are as equally as important as the makeup itself. So brushes, for me, are imperative to have. So when we're choosing makeup brushes, it's really important to have a range, both for your complexion and also for your eyes. So today we've been using the Nude by Nature to just buff in circular motions to the centre of the face, and look how fast we've covered that area.
Did you just foundation my ear?
Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you.
Are you meant to do your ears?
No, ears are so important.
I've never, ever put foundation on my ear.
Ears are so important. So most people, I can tell straight away, a line there. How do you pick the perfect makeup brush? For me, the brush needs to have a really soft texture, but also have a little bit of density to it. A white or light coloured brush, you can see the product on there, you can see how much you're using, how much the brush is absorbed. The colouring of a brush makes a big difference for me.
God, I can fall asleep. That feels so
How nice is it? So, PJ, you know how you said earlier that you had 1 eye brush?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably need to have 3.
Why?
These 3 brushes do a different job each.
What does the little one do?
The little one is my favourite. It's the smudger. What you can do is if you have any eyeliner, any shadows underneath that you really want to smudge out and give you that sultry, smoky eye. And just with the large shadow brush, buffing it in to your lid and applying it really to elongate the eye. And now we're going to go back in for the final part of the eye with the last brush we have used, the crease brush. It's going in with either a darker bronzer or a darker brown shade and keeping the eye open and in the natural contours, just here.
Once again, Jade, you've convinced me. I'm going to pay more attention with the brushes I use.
Yay! So what are we doing now? We've gone from 1 brush to
3 to 5.
5.
I feel brushed up and
Ready to go.
Up next, the power of a tune, the couple stirring up memories through music.
Oh, can't wait for that. I hope it's musical theatre.
Interpretive dance. Have you seen Shrek yet?
Welcome back to the House of Wellness. Thanks to a genius idea from an English teenager, there's a website called Wash Your Lyrics, Joe. Have you heard about this? It turns your favourite song into a 13-step hand-washing routine along with a poster for instructions.
It's pretty much hand wash karaoke, Darcy. Incredible.
Yeah. Music is such a
my dance
powerful
move.
pick-me-up.
It's my only move, that one. It's the hand wash.
Oh, you cut a rug on the D floor, Dust. Come on.
Try and hold me back.
Metre and a half distance, though. But music is not just a great motivator to help us wash our hands. Karaoke is being used in aged care homes across Australia to bring joy to residents fighting dementia and take seniors on a magic trip down memory lane.
It's a long way to Tipperary. It's a long way to go.
For nearly a decade, aged care homes have been singing the praises of Robert and Frances Ives.
Family members, my grandmother, Fran's father, they were actually put into aged care home with dementia. We visited Dad and my grandmother, as family do, and we sort of felt as though we wanted to provide something more than what we're seeing in the aged care sector in the homes.
I remember going and visit Dad many, many times and just watching him sit there in a secure dementia ward where there's nothing, absolutely nothing there, and it's very hard to cope with.
Determined to spread a little bit of joy, Rob and Fran started up their very own travelling karaoke program.
We've attended, Fran and I, hundreds of aged care homes throughout Australia. It's fair to say we didn't know the therapeutical benefit it was going to provide.
Pack up your troubles in your own kit bag and smile, smile, smile.
For these senior citizens, a song is a time capsule of memories.
Smile, boys, that's the start.
Oh, I had a most enjoyable morning. Most enjoyable. The old songs came back and it's just a lovely, happy feeling.
I like singing. I can't sing anymore, unfortunately, as you can hear my voice. But I love music.
You take the high road, and I'll take the low road, and I'll be in Scotland.
Golden Memories Karaoke has grown into a nationwide hit, with volunteers located all over Australia.
I think we all relate to music, don't we? You know, you think about when you're 18 or 20, or you might have been going out with a particular girl, and a song will remind you of her.
It brought back memories of my early days when we used to be young people and having fun and going to dances and doing all sorts of lovely things. I met my husband dancing and my feet were tapping. I really wanted to get up there and dance.
It's nothing like stimulating the memory.
No.
Because it's instinctive, isn't it?
They're just songs of my era, you know, and it's a long time ago. And the point here is that everybody knows them.
Some wonderful stories of family members sitting with mum, severely dementia, that hasn't communicated with the family, and we've got them singing on a microphone. And the family, daughter stands up in tears, mum's singing. The smiles on their faces, well, that's all we really want in return, isn't it? Just to know that we've actually provided and made a difference.
It was beautiful.
Welcome back to the House of Wellness. Another great story and a great initiative. Gerald Quigley joins us, our man on the couch. Segue straight from the karaoke to you, GQ. What are you trying to say, Dave? I'm not trying to say anything, Hinesy, but left that unsaid. Now, you have got your own radio show, GQ, and you're speaking to a lot of elderly people every week. In the world of the coronavirus, what are some of the fears that are coming through that you're talking about?
I'm privileged to be with Joe on Sundays, Das, and the feedback we get and out there that I've been getting is that what people want is consistency. They want to know what is required, and they therefore expect everyone else will do it. So when they hear news, don't panic buy, and that's happening, they don't cope with that all that well. So I guess our message is to everybody, be sensible, be considerate, be kind, all those things that you're doing in your little neighbourhood, and thanks for the invitation, but I live a long way away.
Yeah.
All that means is that we're just trying to include as many people as we can in helping us get through it, and we will get through it. These sorts of things we've seen before, and older people have seen all this before, so they probably don't understand.
But I've got to
what all
ask
of us is
you,
about.
if they've been through this before, how are they feeling now, though, in these circumstances when it comes to everyday things like groceries, picking up medication, getting to physiotherapy? How is that being managed?
That has become a challenge because of the perception that there will be shortages, Hinesy. Medication is very important because a lot of older people need regular medications. And the fear of running out of those medications is ever present. So they've got to be planning for all of those things, and families have got to rally around to make sure that's...
So the message is we're not running out of food, we're not running out of medications. Unless, people continue to stockpile, we've got to be balanced about it because they're not real fears. We actually are pretty well placed.
It's the fear of the unknown to us. And when you look at infection rate and recovery rate and actually the fatality rate, those percentages are rather interesting. So we don't need to read about one fatality every day. That doesn't help the situation at all. We've just got to get it in perspective, get through it, and support those who are in so many ways affected because the ripple effect is quite dramatic.
Gerald, there are members of our community, though, who are more vulnerable.
Yes.
And how do we care for them?
By including them, Joe. So if they have no support group, ensuring there is a support group. As a family member, I visited my mum yesterday. Mum's memory is starting to fade. And I said to her, look, I may not come back for a week or two, depending what's happening, bearing in mind that probably visits will be disallowed. And she said, I've got the TV, I've got 3 meals a day, I've got my friends around me, I've got a newspaper. If I can't go out, I'm not worried at all.
Can I move in with her? She's really worked it out.
Her room's not big enough for me and you.
But so, as far as our vulnerable members of the community, we're looking at people who are elderly.
Yes.
Who else do we need to check in on?
The health compromised, the people who have lung issues, the people who struggle with every winter, and we've mentioned flu vaccinations. Very important to start booking those now, and that they're not available just yet, but they will be available very soon. Book in, get the protection as much as you can. All those things. How we've got to learn to wash hands again. Unbelievable, isn't it? Wash your hands before you eat. Keep your hands away from your face. Just these things that we have to think about more often.
Thanks, Gerald. Appreciate you dropping by with that update. Stick around as Sarah lifts the lid on the health benefits of green tea and Joe meets some pretty awesome young Australians right here on the House of Wellness.
GQ.
Wow.
I've got so many
Welcome back. Well, Hines, you cooked up an avocado stress buster a little earlier in the show. My preference is to normally eat the humble avocado, but Joe, I understand it's got some other external uses.
Oh, there's nothing you can't do with an avocado, don't you know? You can use it as facials, foot scrubs, wrinkle art treatments, whatever it takes. Hey, Heinzie.
I'm with you.
Shaving cream, fabric dye.
Shaving cream.
Look, I don't know. I'm not sure about any of those, to be honest. Sarah, you enjoy a cup of green tea. I know this. Have you ever been tempted to use it, I don't know, as hair tonic or...?
Absolutely.
Oh, OK.
We always say to infinity and beyond.
I love it!
Yeah, so we've used it in face masks, hair masks. It's so full of antioxidants that it's topical as well as ingesting it. You can use it with coconut oil, with shea butter, mix it with any number of carriers and the antioxidants will infuse their power and leave you feeling beautiful.
Oh, love it. We don't have to get down and messy by brewing a green tea home remedy or waste delicious avocado by slathering it on your skin. These days, beauty manufacturers have well and truly climbed aboard the green is good bandwagon to take the mess and stress out of looking great naturally.
Good morning. Hello, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
Good, thank you. What can we do for your hair today?
Well, I just took my extensions out and my hair is extremely dry
Yeah.
and really stressed. So something that will sort of help bring it back to life.
Perfect. I've got the solution for you.
Thank you.
There's so much focus at the moment around healthy living, healthy eating, but people have become really lax, in my opinion, about caring about the health of their hair. You know, it's a really important thing to do, and it's an easy thing to do. Look, everyone knows me as having sort of long, luscious locks, but more recently I've been really sort of thinking about how I can look after my hair better. You know, when you have a head full of hair extensions, as I would normally, and you're doing your hair every day, those heat products really damage the hair. So for me, the repair and the detox of John Frieda's products are really beneficial, that I can use at home on a daily basis, and then throw in the mask as well once a week.
Green tea and avocado oil. Amazing. Feels good, my hair.
It feels so good.
So what do you think about, I mean, when I blow dry it at home, what should I be doing?
So I would always start with this protecting treatment. It's just going to protect your hair from heat.
Healthy hair is important for everyone, and I think you really have to make sure you're using products that are nourishing and moisturising, because your hair's only going to look good if it's actually being looked after.
I love it. It looks great. It actually looks like I've got a lot more hair than I do. It looks full of body.
Having great hair really gives you confidence. You know, you might not be able to buy that new dress, but you can have great hair and feel fantastic when you go out and face the world.
Well, there you go, Joe. Up next, we take the focus off outer beauty and shine it on being pretty, meaning pretty awesome, right, Joe?
That's exactly right. You know how passionate I am about empowering young girls with positive body image and feelings of self-worth well away from this. So I got to meet some truly incredible young women this week as part of my involvement with the Pretty Foundation.
And that includes an inspirational 11-year-old who's invented a revolutionary robot to help manage the planet's plastics. What about that?
Yeah.
That's coming up right after this on the House of Wellness.
I want a robot picking up rubbish out the car.
Unbelievable. 11 and so
Welcome back. A couple of weeks ago, we had the pleasure of having Jade Haymeister on the show, and what an inspiration she is. She made history by skiing the 2 polar ice caps and Greenland, all from the age of 14.
Well, Jade's achievements embody an organisation that's so close to my heart, Das. It's the Pretty Foundation, which is all about getting young girls to recognise that their value lies beyond being pretty. It's about your achievements, and it's about your brain and your heart, your compassion, all these wonderful qualities that make up you. So I was fortunate to MC the recent Pretty Inspirational Awards, where I got to meet the amazing nominees who competed in categories like Pretty Artistic, Pretty Courageous, Pretty Compassionate. These are girls from 8 to 16, by the way. Incredible. Here's a look at one pretty remarkable 11-year-old who won this year's Pretty Ambitious Award.
When I heard that I won an award, I was so excited and I was so happy. I was just really proud, and when I collected my award, I felt so inspired to then go off and really make sure that this can happen, and that this bin will hopefully be the solution to this problem.
Saskia saw a big problem: plastic waste.
The reason why all the plastic is going to landfill is because it isn't recycled properly. So I made a solution that is a robotic bin that recycles the plastic by sorting it and squashing and washing it, and then gets it to be recycled.
The bin uses a scanner, like a self-checkout kiosk at the supermarket. And by sorting and cleaning the plastic at the time of disposal, it has a better chance of staying out of landfill and being reused for a higher purpose.
So it's an easy solution for our environment and our community. I think it's important that there's these awards, because a lot of girls now are so inspirational and they try so hard. And as Pretty Foundation is, it's not about what you look like or what figure you have. It's about your ideas and what you can achieve.
So, young women like Saskia are changing the world through plastic solutions, and the 17-year-old Brit who invented the Wash Your Hands app. Doesn't it give you faith that this globe is in good hands? Because that generation, they're going to save us all. They're amazing, aren't they?
In such uncertain times, I cannot think that Saskia's words are so timely. You know, we need to stick together right now. I've got faith in future generations after watching that.
Absolutely, but it's up to us to really empower that generation, and particularly young girls. The Pretty Foundation, and I'm sure that you relate to this, Sarah. The Pretty Foundation is about the fact that research shows that girls as young as 4 express dissatisfaction with their bodies, and they have issues with understanding who they are because of the way they look. As young as 4. Which is just not okay. We need to empower them to step into their full potential, away from any kind of perception of the way they look.
And how amazing, that's an 11-year-old girl, Sarah, who's invented a robot to try and help the plastics issue on the planet, talking about her generation being the ones to solve the problems. And, you know, having a 14-year-old daughter, and Sarah, you're on Instagram, and we talk about this all the time in the House of Wellness. The problems and the challenges associated with that sort of imagery is really complex as well.
Absolutely. I think it can be really disheartening when you start to see the impact that this increased visibility of people's lives is having on people's body confidence at such a young age. But I also think the platform can be used in a really positive way as well, to spread the word of things like the work of the Pretty Foundation that do show positive role models like Saskia, and the incredible things you can do despite your youth.
It's interesting because we talk about young girls a lot, and of course that's such an important topic to cover, but young boys as well are very impressionable. And I can't help but think you've got this younger generation right now watching their parents empty supermarket shelves, wiping stores clear, getting in the car, being quite mad about the current situation. What are we imparting on? What's the messaging and the example we're setting right now with the COVID-19? Should we be stepping up and leading better by example?
And Heinzie, you're exactly right. It's an opportunity to have a conversation with our children and our grandchildren to say, you know what, it is a little bit of an uncertain time and it can be quite frightening, but we're going to be okay. Together we'll get through this. Let's go and check up on, you know, someone down the street who we know is a bit vulnerable, or, you know, let's do what we can as a community to get through this. But you have to have the conversations.
And the opportunity for leadership, and out of this adversity is always interesting solutions. People come up with creative ideas and ways to connect. You know, we've spoken about you and your community, Joe. That's inspired me to get to know the people around me. You get in your own bubble a little bit more, and you know, we're having conversations that you wouldn't have had before this pandemic had spread. And so smart people now are starting to think of ways to you know, and we will get through it, and we will be better afterwards. And I think the opportunities there, as well as the worst of humanity, I think both sides are coming out at the moment.
Yes,
you can already see so much compassion and community and uniting in a way that people rally together so much at times like this. And it's a tragedy, but everything is temporary, and we'll all come out together better off for it.
So talking about coming out of this, what's something that you're looking forward to? I think it's really important in times like this that we actually focus on not the media cycle, but the fact that there's things to look forward to at the end of the day and at the end of this crisis. What are you looking forward to most coming up in your world?
Oh, goodness me. There is so much coming up, but I think the big thing is this whole Seize the A philosophy that's been brewing, might I say, for quite a while now.
You love it.
You love a good
Did you do a brainstorm of all the tea puns?
You know what?
And I'm loving them all.
It's even worse. I didn't. They just live up here.
That's where the law degree came in handy.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what I put it to good use with puns.
Hey, Sarah, we've really loved having you on the show. It's been great to catch up. We hope you join us again on the House of Wellness. Check out Sarah's podcast, Seize the Yay, as lots of people are doing. For more information on anything you heard on our show, head to our website, houseofwellness.com.au. Remember to tune into the House of Wellness radio show every Sunday with our own Joe Stanley. Going beautiful there, Joe. And thanks as always to our good friends at Chemist Warehouse. See you next week on the House of Wellness.
Sit with me in a lake for the day.
It's a slightly different version of me.